This is not anxiety, but just archaeological excavations on all the beaches in Crimea. As we can see, they are really afraid of landing from the sea. The impression is that the advance of AFU forces will not be with the help of leopards, but on dolphins. When the first facts began to appear about the establishment of defense lines on the temporarily occupied territory of Crimea, placed on the beaches and along the coast, I perceived it as an element of corruption, on the eve of the inevitable flight of the rats. And it was logical, because no landing from the sea borders will be undertaken. The AFU does not have the appropriate means for this, such as medium and large landing ships. Also, this scenario of attack is fraught with high casualties, with very doubtful results. Small sabotage groups may infiltrate from the sea, but it is not necessary to plow the beaches to counteract them, but it is necessary to use slightly different measures. It is for this reason, I perceived these lines of defense as a corrupt component. However, satellite images of these very lines of defense have been published, and unbelievably artillery has already been placed on them, for direct fire on the naval frontiers. 152mm towed howitzers on guard of Crimea. Well, the enemy is seriously considering the scenario of such a large-scale landing that they begin to place artillery in Crimea, which the Russian occupation troops lack in other bridgeheads, for example in the same Zaporizhia direction. And this is one of the likely offensive scenarios that everyone is waiting for. In this case, the deployment of artillery is not only the installation of a combat unit, but also providing it with ammunition. That is, while the left bank grouping has an incomplete equipment and ammunition shortage, Crimea is being dug in to prevent a phenomenally unlikely scenario. On the other hand, it is worth noting that Russian troops are thoroughly entrenched in the north of the peninsula, along the Medvedka-Jankoy-Armyansk triangle. Before I continue, I ask you to subscribe to my channel, it will help to promote it. If we assess the scale of their defense lines and the current number of personnel deployed on the peninsula, they simply don't have enough manpower to fully cover all the positions they are fortifying. The current contingent in Crimea is one of the smallest in the entire war zone. From all this it can be concluded that the Russian command is planning a measured retreat from the southern bridgehead, if anything, which the defense lines in mainland southern Ukraine will have to provide for them. They will drive the bulk of the troops into Crimea. After that, the command of the occupation forces plans to hold a circular defense, using the available and escaped, or retreated, resources. Thus, they intend to turn Crimea into an impregnable fortress. But most interestingly, it will never become one for them. A grave, yes, but no more. After all, the liberation of the Crimean Peninsula will be carried out exactly according to that scenario, which the enemy command is not prepared for and moreover, will never be prepared for. But it is too early to talk about this, events must run their course, without undue haste.